there. Welcome to episode 4 of JuJu Joy. And again, I am really enjoying all of the episodes, and I hope you've enjoyed the first 3 episodes as much as I have. So, as we always start each one of our episodes, we start with 2 things. The first is the fact that joy is a choice, and I always hope that you decide to choose joy. Also, the disclaimers. My disclaimers are the fact that this is not something to be negative about. Also, I try to keep, when we get to the message, I try to keep it within 8 minutes. And first time didn't do so well. The second and the third episode kept it under 8, and I will today also. The third one is that it's not rocket science. And the fourth one is that there may or may not be some kind of a story or a joke. There may or may not be something from or about the Bible or something of a spiritual nature. And there may or may not be some reference to a book that I've written or something that I have read. So since we've gone over the disclaimers and the fact that joy is a choice, then I want this little talk to be a follow-up to what we talked about in the third episode. And if you remember, in the third episode, we talked about how joy is meant for all. And we said that joy is meant for you, and also joy is meant for everyone else. And then I broke this second one down into saying to be kind to people and also don't sabotage their joy. And when we talked about being kind, it was talking about being kind in a very selfless way. That by being kind, it helped other people to get joy. So I want to put a little different spin on it today. And I want to, in our episode 4 of JuJu Joy, I want to bring up the fact that being kind brings you joy. So it's going to be a very selfish thing instead of being a selfless thing. So now let's start our 8 minutes. Now, I want you to have joy. I do. I really do. So I say to have joy, be kind to others. But how can we do that, you might be thinking? Because it's today looked on being kind as being weak. And it's kind of like those 2 executives, Bob and Joe, and they went out to eat for a business dinner. And they both ordered T-bone steak. And when the T-bone steak came in, the waiter brought it in and put the steaks on their table. And it was very obvious that one T-bone steak was quite a bit larger than the other T-bone steak. So Joe immediately reached over, got the big T-bone steak, and started putting all kinds of steak sauce on it. And Bob looked over and he said, Joe, I'm kind of unhappy. And Joe said, why? And Bob says, well, I've always thought of you as being a kind person. And it's not very kind just to reach over and get the biggest T-bone steak. And Joe said, well, Bob, what would you have done? And Bob said, well, of course, I would have taken the smaller steak. And Joe said, well, then what's the big deal? You got what you wanted. So see, it's kind of the way it is, that it's kind of accepted that we're supposed to kind of be looking out for ourselves. So it's not really the thing to do, it seems like, to be a kind person. So I want to share some information with you that I read in an article the other day. And the article was actually written back in 2017 in November, and it comes from Psychology Today. And the article's title was, Why Do Random Acts of Kindness Matter to Your Well-Being and Others? And the article talked about how being kind is actually good for the person who is being kind, because being kind gives the giver joy. That sounds a little familiar. I know why. Because it sounds a lot like what Jesus said. Jesus said, you remember that Sermon on the Mount? It was in Luke 6 when he was talking to his followers. He said it's more blessed to give than to receive. And then he said what we consider to be our golden rule, which is do to others as you would have them do to you. Now, why would he say that? I think it's because Jesus knew that being kind brought the giver, or the person who is being kind, a lot of joy. And later on in the sermon, Jesus said, give and it'll be given to you. And he didn't say just a little bit would be given to you. He said a good measure. And he said it would be pressed down and it would be shaken together and it would be running over and then poured into your lap. So if you want lots of joy, then give lots of kindness to other people. Oh, now back to the article. Now, after reading this article, I started to believe that you really do get joy out of being kind. And there's two main things that you can do to get that joy. And I think the first one is that you have to look for opportunities to be kind. And the second one is that, and this seems kind of strange, but this is what the article said, that you should count the times that you have been kind. Okay, so let's get into that. Let's look first of all at why we should look for opportunities to be kind. Well, the article basically said that there's three main ways. One is the fact that if you are kind to people, then your stress level will go down and you will find that your immune system is boosted. Also, your pain is reduced and you end up getting something that's a little strange. You will have energy that's released. So let's talk first of all about the stress and the immune boosting part of this. The article said that when we are kind to other people, it gives us joy. And that joy gets rid of all these negative types of emotions, such as anger, anxiety, and depression. And by getting rid of those negative emotions, our stress comes down and our immune system is strengthened. And then the second one is that kindness ends up reducing pain. So kindness reduces stress, boosts the immune system, and it reduces pain. Well, how does it reduce pain? The article says that being kind brings about joy, and that joy increases natural dopamine, serotonin, and endogenous opioids that fight pain. And then the last one is kindness releases energy. Being kind releases neurochemicals. These neurochemicals give us what's called a helper's high. And that helper's high is a very special kind of joy. Now, let's look at why we should count the times that we help other people through kindness. Well, all in all, what happens is that by helping others, being kind to others, it makes us grateful. Being grateful makes us feel joy. Feeling joy makes us then want to be kind again. And this comes from a Japanese study. And that Japanese study found, again, that joy is increased when we count the number of times that we have been kind to other people. The people who were studied, they found out when they counted those times, it gave them a sense of being grateful. When they were grateful, that made them more joyful, and it made them want to feel that same joy again that they felt when they were kind to other people. So, do you want to have joy? Then what you need to do is look for opportunities to be kind and count the times that you have been kind to other people. And in doing that, what's going to happen is that you end up feeling better, having more joy, and even though it is a little bit selfish, that's okay. Because we're going to find out, and when we are kind to other people, that we have a lot of JuJu Joy, and we end up being grateful, and being grateful makes us want to be joyful again by helping other people out by being kind to them. Hope you have a great day, and I hope you choose joy.